Tekashi 6ix9ine is once again making headlines, this time for a lawsuit that saw an adult dancer end up in the hospital. Another lawsuit sees Jason Campbell, formerly known as the Tik Tok Doc, being sued by a former colleague with claims he made unwanted advancements. And I referred to Campbell as formerly known as Tik Tok Doc because his account is now gone. But wait, there's more. Dr. Seuss has been canceled, and on his birthday. What a shame, but you really gotta stick around to find out who's to blame. Little rhyme there for you. We got a triple header on InformOverload for you today. Smash that like button and let's go. Starting things off with Tekashi 6ix9ine. Unfortunately, a little incident he was a part of ended with an innocent bystander ending up in the hospital. While in Miami, Tekashi was hanging out inside Gold Rush Cabaret, and sources claim he got into an argument with someone who would end up calling him a rat. This apparently set 6ix9ine off, and he threw a bottle of champagne in their direction. Unfortunately, he was apparently never good at sports because his toss missed the intended target and hit Alexis Saliberios, a dancer, in the head. This all went down back on February 20th, 2021, but Alexis is now suing both Tekashi and the Gold Rush establishment for how things played out. Following the incident, Alexis claims that the club's staff focused on safely getting 6ix9ine out of the club and then pressured her not to call the cops. She called them anyways and ended up going to the hospital, needing staples in her head to close the wound she sustained. Now Alex is suing Tekashi for aggravated battery, claiming in her lawsuit that he threw a, I quote, deadly object with intent to commit serious bodily injury. She's suing the club for gross negligence, which will likely make its way through the system. Tekashi, however, may get off, as his lawyer Lance Lazaro told TMZ Tekashi wasn't involved and, I quote, there was video cameras in the establishment. It's an attempt to shake him down. If he is served properly, we will immediately move to have it dismissed. In other legal news, TikTok star Jason Campbell, known as the Tik Tok Doc, is being sued a total of $45 million by a former coworker after he made unwanted advancements over the course of January to March 2020. The lawsuit dated February 26th accused Campbell of behaving inappropriately with a former coworker at the Veteran Affairs Medical Center in Portland while he was an anesthesia resident at the Oregon Health and Science University, OHSU. The lawsuit claims that aside from sending a photo of himself as well as charged messages, both via text and social media, Campbell also once snuck up behind the woman and pressed his body against her so she could feel his action. As per the lawsuit, I quote, plaintiff was terrified and yelled at Dr. Campbell to leave. Plaintiff followed up with a written message, don't ever surprise me by getting in my physical space. Campbell responded by text message, I should have asked, I'm sorry. Aside from Campbell, the woman who has remained anonymous is also suing the OHSU, who employed Campbell and gave him access to the hospital where she worked. She initially complained to the OHSU about Campbell's behavior in April, leading to an investigation which they agreed he had violated conduct, but it seemed to end there. Veterans Affairs Police also did an investigation, as well as a separate detective who forwarded the case to the district attorney's office for a potential harassment charge. Nothing was pursued. Campbell is claiming all the messages were of mutual nature. However, the investigation done by the OHSU led them to believe Campbell was making unwanted advancements. Their investigation concluded reading, I quote, the totality of the messages leaves the reader with a firm feeling that Campbell intentionally pushed the envelope of sexual innuendo despite multiple warnings. Yet still, they didn't seem to do much to protect her. A spokesperson for OHSU explained, I quote, OHSU does not condone behavior as described in the lawsuit. We are continuously working to evolve our culture, policies, and practices to provide an environment where all learners, employees, patients, and visitors feel safe and welcome. We take our role seriously in being part of the change that needs to happen across our country to end discrimination and power dynamics that allow for harassment. The lawsuit reportedly alleges assault, battery, intentional emotional distress, invasion of privacy, and negligence against Campbell and OHSU, totaling to $45 million. Now to finish things up, a few Dr. Seuss books are no longer going to be published, with the company citing racial undertones and insensitive imagery. The announcement comes not only on the author's birthday, but a day after President Joe Biden made no mention of Dr. Seuss during his proclamation on Read Across America Day, a tradition that has been kept for decades. For more than 20 years, Dr. Seuss was the face of the annual educational day, and now the company Dr. Seuss Enterprises, which protects the author's legacy, announced they'll no longer be printing the following books. And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street, If I Ran the Zoo, McElligot's Pool, On Beyond Zebra, Scrambled Egg Super, and The Cat's Quizzer. In a statement, the company wrote, I quote, today on Dr. Seuss's birthday, Dr. Seuss Enterprises celebrates reading and also our mission of supporting all children and families with messages of hope, inspiration, inclusion, and friendship. After citing they worked with a panel of experts, including educators who reviewed their catalog of titles, the company made the decision to no longer publish the previously mentioned books. The statement goes on to read, I quote, these books portray people in ways that are hurtful and wrong. Ceasing sales of these books is only part of our commitment and our broader plan to ensure Dr. Seuss Enterprises catalog represents and supports all communities and families. To no surprise, people had mixed reactions, but I mean, I don't think many people knew a lot of these books anyways, as they weren't the classics like Green Eggs and Ham, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, or The Cat in the Hat. And to think that I saw it on Mulberry Street published in 1937 was his first book, but I mean, it wasn't a classic. No one really knows it. As always, guys, let us know your thoughts on this one down below. For now, let's reply to some comments from the video. Top 10 biggest news stories of February January 2021. Don McCarthy said, you missed the shooting of Lady Gaga's dog walker and the dog napping of 2 of her French bulldogs. So I'll be honest, guys, I was gonna include that, but we did the weekly roundup like literally the day before, and I was like, I don't want to kind of like put out the same 2 stories back to back. It was, yeah, that was a really big news story, but like we already covered it the day before, so I kind of felt silly including it in this top 10 biggest news stories, even though it was one of the biggest news stories. We're trying to include like some of the biggest stuff we covered, but also stuff that we didn't cover that we think you guys would be interested in as well over the course of the month. So that's kind of what that is. Valeria Alicia said, doesn't Jared remind you of a person who makes dad jokes and laughs at them? I do that, don't I? I'm kind of funny though. I think, you know, not to toot my own horn. Amy This Dawn said, we're not off to a good start. No, we're not. If you compare what happened right now, 2021, to what happened last year, 2020, I think we're in a pretty good place. In the sense that like this time last year, the pandemic was like really ramping up, and now we're kind of like, hey, we got vaccines. We're kind of over it. We're all frustrated that like, you know, like perspective. I'd rather be frustrated than scared of what to come. Does that make sense? I don't know. What I'm saying is last March I was scared, now I'm frustrated. So what does that tell you? Anyways, guys, that's all for this one. Been your host, Jared Bronstein, and we'll see you guys soon.